On Thai PBS World Tonight, PM 2.5 dust pollution in Bangkok has improved, while the Prime Minister calls urgent meeting to address air pollution. The second phase of the 10,000 baht cash payouts for elderly citizens begin today. And at least 51 billion bahts in spending during the Chinese New Year festival is estimated this year, the highest since the COVID-19 pandemic.
Good evening and welcome to Thai PBS World Tonight. I'm Nat Bunnag and we'll begin the program tonight with, of course, the latest on the PM 2.5 dust pollution in Bangkok after the capital and nearby provinces were heavily affected by the PM 2.5 dust pollution, reaching unhealthy levels throughout the week of over 100 microns. Today, the situation has already improved. So the air quality in Bangkok has improved today, with PM 2.5 being measured as only being unhealthy for sensitive groups or the orange level in 38 out of 50 districts. And the average PM 2.5 level in Bangkok is 41 microns, which is still above the safe level of 37.5 microns, but it is still better than last week where it reached over 100 microns in several districts in Bangkok. But the most polluted districts in Bangkok today are Nong Chong, Bung Kum, Lak Si, Wang Thong Lang, and Bang Khat districts, where they recorded about 49 to 50 microns today. But if you have commuted on SkyTrain or the metro this morning, you may have noticed that the train stations seem to be much more crowded than usual. This is because all train services and public buses in Bangkok have been open to the public for free until this Friday. This is a short-term measure to reduce traffic and reduce the airborne pollution in the capital. So the good part for many people working in Bangkok right now is that they can hop onto the SkyTrain for free. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Pattongtarn Shinawatra has scheduled an urgent meeting today with the governors of provinces, including Bangkok, which are affected by PM 2.5 airborne pollution caused by exhaust emissions and the outdoor burning of farm waste. According to GISTA, which has been monitoring air pollution by satellite on an hourly basis, 23 provinces in the eastern, northeastern, and central regions are suffering with unhealthy levels of PM 2.5 today. Meanwhile, Defense Minister Phumtham Wechayachai noted that the PM 2.5 dust pollution has become a regional problem affecting many countries in Southeast Asia, adding that the issue would be addressed at the forthcoming meeting of ASEAN defense ministers. And if we look at the economic impacts posed by PM 2.5 dust pollution, according to the assessment by Kasigor Research Center, the economic damage from opportunity loss caused by air pollution has been estimated at about 3 billion baht. The center also said that excessive PM 2.5 in the atmosphere leads to expenditure on medical treatment and preventive health care, such as face masks and air purifiers. Although such expenditure is beneficial to businesses, it can constitute opportunity loss for consumers because they could have used the money for other purposes. The economic damage estimate was based on the assumption that about 2.4 million people in Bangkok are suffering from allergies and respiratory diseases, with about half of them needing to see a doctor at least once a month. This incurs medical and travel expenses averaging about 2,000 baht per head. Including other economic activities such as class suspensions, impacts on tourism, and working from home, the center believes that the economic damage could be much higher. So when it comes to tackling the PM 2.5 dust pollution, many people have been criticizing the Thai government for the way it handled the situation. You may remember recently that Prime Minister Pattongtarn Shinawatra told reporters during the World Economic Forum in Davos that she has been fully aware of the problem since her first day in office, and she said that she has instructed all ministries to work harder to solve the persisting problem. She even mentioned when she came back from Davos that tackling dust pollution is not just a national agenda, but rather a regional agenda among the ASEAN countries. And so far, she said that she has ordered the Foreign Affairs Ministry to talk to neighboring countries, especially with tackling the cross-border pollution which came from burning waste. August. However, some of the academics also commented that the government has not taken swift action despite the fact that there is enough technology to forecast the severity of the dust pollution at least 3 days in advance. Although the government has imposed the work from home measures or even allowed free public transportation for at least a week, they do agree that negotiating with neighboring countries on cross-border pollution, reducing the burning from agricultural waste, or even plans to have artificial rain to reduce dust pollution could be a good way out to solve the persisting problem of PM 2.5 because it is really affecting so many people, especially with those who are sensitive to air pollution, whether it's pregnant women, children, and the elderly citizens. And moving on to another piece of good news today, especially for the elderly citizens in Thailand, because the second phase of the cash handouts have begun today. So it might be fair to say that this round of cash handouts are in time for Chinese New Year. So the Thai government has begun distributing the 10,000 baht cash payouts for Thai citizens aged 60 and above who have already registered for the cash benefits through the government's Thang Rat application. And today, Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra took part in the official launch of the second phase of the cash payouts at the Government House, announcing that the 10,000 baht cash benefits will be distributed to 3 million Thais in hopes to boost the economy as well as to ease financial burden for the people. She even claimed that the government received positive feedback from the first phase of the scheme, and for this time around, the Prime Minister said that the second phase of the scheme will inject up to 30 billion baht into the Thai economy. Meanwhile, the government spokesman Dirayu Huangsap told reporters that the Prime Minister would also hold a video conference with those who have received the 10,000 baht cash benefits to gather their opinions of the scheme while also communicating with them how the government will boost the economy as delivered in their policy statement. He also said that for those who did not receive the cash handouts in the first phase, the Finance Ministry will try to transfer the money again at least 3 more times. And in the first phase of the scheme, about 14 million state welfare card holders and disabled people have received the cash handouts, which cost the taxpayers about 140 billion baht in September last year. That means right now the elderly citizens in Thailand will be receiving the 10,000 baht cash handouts under the second phase of the scheme from today onwards. So that's definitely good news for the elderly citizens in Thailand. But what about the third phase of this digital wallet scheme? So according to the Deputy Finance Minister, Julapan Amonwiwat, he said that the third phase for those aged between 16 to 59 will be receiving their cash payouts around March or April this year. However, the exact date for the scheme remains unclear because this will also depend on the readiness of the payment system as well. And the Chinese New Year is actually around the corner, and today people have already started spending to prepare for ceremonies as well as family gatherings during this important holiday. And of course, children are waiting to receive their red envelopes filled with money. So for this year, it is expected that about 51 billion baht will be spent during the Chinese New Year holiday this year. An estimated 51 billion baht is forecast to be spent during the Chinese New Year festival thanks to the government incentives, whether it's the second phase of the 10,000 baht cash handouts to the elderly population, as well as the e-receipt tax deduction program. Thanawat Pornwichai, the rector of the University of Thai Chamber of Commerce and the advisory chairman of the Economic and Business Forecast Center at the university, said that the estimated spending is an increase of 4.5% over last year, and this will be the highest since the COVID-19 pandemic. Apart from the cash payouts, he said that the Easy e-receipt program, which allows consumers to deduct certain spending from their taxable income, will encourage more spending than usual. And commenting on the recent case of a Chinese actor where he was lured into a human trafficking gang from Thailand to Myanmar, he claims that the incident will have little and only short-term impact on the Thai tourism industry, causing damage estimated at no more than 14 billion baht, resulting in a drop in GDP of only 0.01%. Meanwhile, the assistant director of the Economic and Business Forecast Center said that a recent survey of consumer spending during the Chinese New Year festival shows that most will spend on products as well as tourism. And speaking of tourism, the Transport Ministry previously estimated that the country will welcome more than 4 million tourists into Thailand during the Chinese New Year holiday, with over 700,000 visitors traveling from China, which is an increase of about 22%. So many people will be going out during the Chinese New Year holidays to celebrate the occasion. But apart from the gatherings, the most common tradition among Chinese families is to burn joss papers as well. And the burning of joss paper resembles money for the ancestors. But these traditions, we have to bear in mind that it would increase PM 2.5 dust pollution as well. And in light of this, the government has been urging people to refrain from burning joss papers or using joss sticks. And this will help reduce the PM 2.5 dust pollution, which is still here during this week. And they have tried to suggest people to use digital offerings or use electric joss sticks instead to reduce the air pollution in Bangkok and also elsewhere in Thailand as well. And even though these traditions are still a must, protecting your health from dust pollution is still very important. So you can also consider these alternatives when performing these Chinese New Year traditions this year. And now let's talk about this story. When it comes to road accidents, especially in Bangkok, it still occurs here and there, especially at pedestrian crossings, as some drivers continue to ignore traffic laws. Recently, there's a road accident where a motorcyclist ran into a South Korean man last Thursday, and that occurred at the same exact spot where an eye doctor was killed 3 years ago. So a motorcyclist has been arrested on a charge of reckless driving after he ran into an elderly South Korean man last Thursday while he was on a zebra crossing on Payathai Road in front of Pumira Nakarin Kidney Institute Hospital in Bangkok. Both the motorcyclist and the South Korean man were injured. The motorcyclist was cleared of drunk driving after he passed a breathalyzer test. The superintendent of Payathai Police said yesterday that the motorcyclist is due to report to the police tomorrow for questioning after he has recovered from his injuries. He also said that if the suspect admits to charge, he would be sent to the public prosecutors to be indicted in the Dusit District Court. The victim can file a complaint demanding compensation through the court as well. Payathai District Police said that the accident occurred at the same spot where an eye doctor from the Faculty of Medicine at Chulalongkorn University, known as Dr. Kratai, was killed by a motorcycle being ridden by a police officer about 3 years ago. In Dr. Kratai's case, the defendant was sentenced by the criminal court to 1 year and 15 days in prison and fined up to 4,000 baht. The appeals court decided to increase his imprisonment to 5 years and 1 month without suspension on the grounds that the nature of the offense is serious because the defendant is a police officer who should strictly comply with the law. However, the case is still pending in the Supreme Court. So if you remember 3 years ago when an eye doctor widely known as Dr. Kratai was killed by a big bike ridden by a police officer, this was actually a very high-profile case, and that has sparked massive outrage on social media where many people criticized the incident and especially how the offender was a police officer himself. And there were significant changes since that particular incident 3 years ago where they have installed traffic lights and zebra crossings, and more signs were also painted in red and even added rumble strips to the surface of the road to remind drivers to slow down when they are about to reach a zebra crossing. But despite such changes and the massive outrage on social media 3 years ago, and with this recent incident taken into account, this simply implies that the people's mindset on road safety has not really improved. So what is much more important is not just installing more traffic lights or repainting the zebra crossings, but it's educating the drivers not to encroach on the zebra crossings or crossing the red traffic lights and respecting the rights of the pedestrians. But One thing we also have to mention, which is a very sad truth though, is that in Thai culture, there's this belief that cars must come first. So you will often notice that many of the drivers would encroach on the zebra crossings, even though the traffic lights are there to show that the pedestrians are about to cross the road. But in other cultures, pedestrians must come first. So you can see that in many other countries, if someone is going to cross the road, they will have to stop the car first and let the pedestrians cross the zebra crossings. But unfortunately, in Thailand, it doesn't happen that way. So like we said earlier, what is much more important is actually educating the drivers in terms of the zebra crossings and respecting the rights of the pedestrians as well. All right, and that wraps up tonight's edition of Thai PBS World Tonight. Join us every Monday and Tuesday at 6 p.m. on Thai PBS World's Facebook and YouTube Live. And don't forget to follow us on social media and our website, thaipbsworld.com, for all the latest updates about Thailand as well as analyses. Thanks for watching. I will see you tomorrow. สวัสดีค่ะ